Pacem cordium. Give peace to every heart. Da pacem cordium, 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 da pacem cordium. And here's the next phrase. Da pacem. Again, now we're going to string them together. We'll do it a few times, and then I'll break you out into a round. Da pacem cordium, da pacem cordium, da pacem, da pacem cordium, 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 da pacem cordium. Da pacem cordium, da pacem cordium, da pacem.
The Unitarian Church of Montpelier is located on Western Abenaki land, which has long served as a site of meeting and exchange amongst Indigenous peoples. We honor, recognize, and respect these peoples as the traditional stewards of the lands and waters on which we gather. In that same spirit, we will respect, protect, and be good stewards of this land for as long as we walk upon it. Good morning. I am Betty Roy. I use she, her pronouns, and I am your worship associate this morning. On behalf of the entire worship team, I am delighted to welcome all of you, those of you here in the sanctuary and those who are on live stream. Thank you for joining us this morning. We deeply appreciate your presence and fellowship as part of our beloved Unitarian Church of Montpelier, which has been a sanctuary for those seeking spiritual sustenance, as well as peace and justice in the world, since 1864. We welcome all into this community that affirms the worth and dignity of every person and the interdependence we share with all existence. We are so glad you are with us today. Please know that should you need, we have hearing assist devices on the table in the back of the sanctuary. Also, please know that you can listen and watch the service in the fireplace room downstairs if you wish. And it's always a pleasure for us to welcome newcomers and guests who are joining us for worship. So if you feel comfortable, and if this is your first or second time and you wish, would you raise your hand or stand so that we can welcome you? And in the chat, in the live stream, if you are new, please note it in the chat. Thank you. Thank you so much. We're all glad you are here. Any of you who are newcomers to our congregation are invited to fill out a welcome form, which is available on the nice, long, beautiful hospitality table we have downstairs. Join us for coffee after the service. Now let us take a few moments and welcome people in our pew and give them some sort of greeting for the morning. Good morning. Thank you for sharing these warm greetings, and you are invited to continue greeting each other during coffee hour after the service. It is a joy to be part of such an engaged community. There are many other ways for us to become involved, become engaged in this community. And if you don't already, you need to sign up for the e-news, and there are lots of things in there. But this morning, I'll just highlight a few. So this morning, straight from the Women's Alliance, there are quarts of soup available downstairs for $7 a quart. Be sure to visit that. And Donia, our music director, is offering a 6-week session on music reading through the winter, which is going to be on Wednesdays from 4 to 5 p.m., obviously, starting on January 18th. If you want more information or you want to register, contact Donia. And if you have not done so, as I said, be sure to sign up for the e-news. And now, let us take a deep breath, make sure our cell phones are silenced. I hope mine is, it's over there. And let's enter more deeply into this time of worship with the prelude.
From the tumbling forward, spinning world, we come together here into this time and space, pulled by the need for sanctuary, for refuge for our hearts and spirits. We come together to find grounding, to root down into the center of ourselves, into the core of who we are and who we aspire to be. We come together to find stillness, to rediscover the breath of life in community with one another. And so let us breathe. Let us nourish our spirits. Let us rediscover our center that holds us in this time, set aside to share in connection and in reverence. Come, let us worship together. I invite you to rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, which is number 1009 in the Teal hymnal. We will be singing Meditation on Breathing.
Let us now light the chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. And as we do, I invite you at home to light a candle if you have one nearby. We light this flame as an enduring symbol of our collective commitment to lead with truth and compassion. Please join me in saying our congregational covenant. It's in your order of service. We covenant to speak honestly and listen deeply to each other and the voice within. Treat each other with compassion and honor our differences. Take responsibility for the impact our words, actions, and inactions have on each other. Support each other in times of need and of grief, and celebrate the beauty and joy in our lives. Honor the gifts of the past and be gentle with each other as we grow. Encourage each other in the brave work of creating a more beloved community and healthy, sustainable world. And forgive each other and start again.
We are a congregation that cares for and supports one another deeply. The ministry of caring is one that we are all invited into, and that so many of you participate in both formally and informally. And we also benefit as a community to have some of our members trained in and committed to the ministry of caring. The lay pastoral care ministry team is an extension of the minister, and they share in the ministry of caring that I lead. The team is trained in the skills of active listening and providing a pastoral presence. They provide support during challenging times and offer what is often the first line of response in crisis, as well as ongoing support. I would like to now introduce our lay pastoral care team as we take a moment this morning to recognize them and to commission this team in their service to the congregation for this church year. There are in total 5 members of this team, but due to illness, we are only able to have 2 members of the team present here today. So we have Mary Jane Olson, who is our lay pastoral care coordinator. Joining Mary Jane as caregivers this year are Denise Bailey, who cannot be present, Victoria Batten, Art Stuckey, and Ruth Whitty. And if Victoria and Mary Jane, if you would come forward. So Art, Denise, Mary Jane, and Ruth are returning lay pastoral caregivers, and Victoria is joining newly this year. There are many different reasons that you might want to talk to a lay pastoral caregiver. Some of these reasons include major life transitions, like the death of a loved one, a divorce, job loss, financial strain, chronic or terminal illness. Other reasons might be that you would like to have conversations about spirituality, or that you are continuing to struggle with some kind of long-standing circumstance, or perhaps you would like to talk with someone who can listen, ask meaningful questions, and care for your spirit in a pastoral and gentle way. Lay pastoral caregivers provide a listening, caring space for reflection about your emotional and spiritual journey. Each of the members of our team was chosen or recommended because of their commitment to the congregation and their particular ability to listen and to be present. This is their ministry. And so this morning we will commission our team in their role as spiritual leaders and listeners. I'll ask Mary Jane and Victoria, and on behalf of the rest of the team, are you committed to offering and encouraging pastoral care within this congregation? Will you lead by example in your actions and in your words, in your pastoral presence and in your personal spiritual life? Will you reach out to those in need with open minds and open hearts, seeking always to be a healing presence? If so, please say, I will. Thank you. And I will give the congregation a chance now to respond. I ask you, the congregation, will you place your trust in our caregivers? Will you allow yourself, perhaps even challenge yourself, to ask for their care and to receive their care? Will you honor them with this role and responsibilities of lay ministry? If so, please respond, we will. Thank you. Our lay pastoral caregivers are available every Sunday in the sanctuary after the worship service. They're also available to meet at other times throughout the week. You can identify them with this dove pin, which is attached to their name tags. It just says LPC. There are also others in our congregation who have volunteered to provide practical kinds of help in times of need and crisis, including providing meals, rides to doctor's appointments, pet care, grocery shopping. I want to extend a thank you to Erin Aguayo, who has coordinated this outreach through the Caring Network for the last several years. Erin completed her time as the Caring Network coordinator at the end of December, and this ministry program is on hold while we look for a new coordinator of the Caring Network. This is an essential way that we as a community serve human need And so I hope that we will find someone to take up the coordination of this network. If this is something that you might consider taking on, please be in touch. Thank you to all of you who have served as caregivers over the years, and all of you who have shared in both asking for help and offering care and support in so many ways. The ministry of caring truly builds our loving community.
Today, for our religious education, spiritual exploration programs for our children, the kindergarten and preschool group is officially moving downstairs into their preschool, the old preschool classroom. So if your kids are in that age, please pick them up downstairs today instead of the upstairs classroom where they've been meeting. And our elementary age group and any middle schoolers who are interested in joining will stay in the children's chapel upstairs. Everybody will leave through these doors. Please join me in singing the children's parting song, As You Go, and children can go.
The act of giving is a spiritual practice, as important as any other element in our shared time of worship. Our generosity is a form of love. Our gifts freely given help us to practice Unitarian Universalism within and beyond our congregation. Each month through the UCM Community Pouch program, we share part of our collection with an important church fund or community organization aligned with our values. This month's Community Pouch recipient is Unlikely Riders, which is a Vermont BIPOC nonprofit which mobilizes those it serves to find healing in the mountains while claiming space in the snow sports industry, with the goal of reducing barriers to snow sports and creating a community for BIPOC people in Vermont to exist fully and authentically on snow. You are encouraged to visit their website for more information. Half of our cash offerings will go to our pouch recipient. The other half will directly support the mission and ministry of this congregation. If you wish to designate your entire offering to the community pouch, please indicate that with a note attached to your gift. Checks will go to the church unless otherwise designated. You will find the offering pouches at the end of the pews and the side aisle, and we ask that you please pass them toward the center aisle. Her offering will now be greatly received. Thank you.
Noise gets our attention, but it cannot come close to the strength of silence, the healing breath and necessity of stillness. Do all gifts in our world come from silence?
Can humans cherish it, seek it out as the only path to peace? Can we cherish it, seek it out as the only path to peace? Can we crawl into the womb of its tranquility with arms open wide? This is the nurture of our souls. It is, the essential
Should we mention that, our poet is in the congregation? Thank you, Marjorie. Thank you.
We acknowledge the generosity with which your gifts have been freely and lovingly offered this morning, and we receive them with deep gratitude for the difference that they allow us to make for one another in this church community and also beyond our congregation. Thank you. In our community of care and belonging, we hold one another with love in times of joy and in times of sorrow. In that spirit, we share in the ritual of lighting candles of joy and concern twice a month. And during this month of January, we will share in this ritual this morning and again in another 2 weeks. During the candle lighting time, you may wish to come forward and to share a special joy or a milestone so that we can celebrate with you. Perhaps an addition to your family, a special birthday or anniversary, anything that you have found worthy of celebration. You may also wish to share a personal concern, a challenge, or a loss that calls for our love, our support, and our prayers as a spiritual community. This morning, a member of our lay pastoral care team is available after the service if you would like to share more deeply, and that person today is Mary Jane Olson. In just a moment, you are invited to come forward using the aisle on the left-hand side of the sanctuary to share your name and to briefly share in a sentence or two the joy or concern that is on your heart before then lighting a candle. You may also come forward and light a candle in silence if you wish. As a reminder, the service is being live streamed, so anything that's shared here in the sanctuary will also be shared with. Let us continue in this time of meditation and prayer. I invite you to allow your body to settle into a comfortable posture, whether you are sitting, perhaps standing. Notice where your body makes contact with the seat or the ground. Know that you are being supported. Breathe naturally and easily. Know that whatever sensations you notice, whatever feelings you notice, are part of being alive in this moment. The sensation of warmth or coolness, sensation of heaviness or lightness, the sounds that you hear, or the images in your field of vision. This moment of stillness and quiet is an invitation to be fully human right now. Fully human in your tenderness, your sadness, fully human in your joy, in your relief, fully human, no more and no less. As we share in a few moments of quiet meditation, know that you are here, awake and alive. You are here, and that is enough. Our reading this morning is the poem entitled A Callarse, or Keeping Quiet, by Pablo Neruda. I will read the poem in Spanish, and Betty will read the English translation by Stephen Mitchell. Ahora contaremos 12, y nos quedamos todos quietos.
Now we will count to 12, and we will all keep still.
Por una vez sobre la tierra, no hablemos en ningún idioma. Por un segundo detengámonos, no movamos tanto los brazos.
This one time upon the earth, let's not speak any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much.
Sería un minuto fragante, sin prisa, sin locomotoras. Todos estaríamos juntos en una inquietud instantánea.
It would be a delicious moment, without hurry, without locomotives. All of us would be together in a sudden uneasiness.
Los pescadores del mar frío no harían daño a las ballenas, y el trabajador de la sal miraría sus manos rotas.
The fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the peasant gathering salt would not look at his torn hands.
Los que preparan guerras verdes, guerras de gas, guerras de fuego, victorias sin sobrevivientes, se pondrían un traje puro y andarían con sus hermanos por la sombra, sin hacer nada.
Those who prepare green wars, wars of gas, wars of fire, victories without survivors, would put on clean clothing and walk alongside their brothers in the shade without doing a thing.
No se confunda lo que quiero con la inacción definitiva. La vida es solo lo que se hace. No quiero nada con la muerte.
What I want shouldn't be confused with final inactivity. Life alone is what matters. I want nothing to do with death.
Si no pudimos ser unánimes, moviendo tanto nuestras vidas, tal vez no hacer nada una vez, tal vez un gran silencio pueda interrumpir esta tristeza, este no entendernos jamás y amenazarnos con la muerte. Tal vez la tierra nos enseñe cuando todo parece muerto y luego todo estaba vivo.
If we weren't unanimous about keeping our lives so much in motion, if we could do nothing for once, perhaps a great silence would interrupt this sadness, this never understanding ourselves and threatening ourselves with death. Perhaps the earth is teaching us when everything seems to be dead, and then everything is alive.
Ahora contaré hasta 12, y tú te callas, y me voy.
Now I will count to 12, and you keep quiet, and I'll go.
One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I won't actually leave the pulpit now, but I wonder how it feels to intentionally slow down right now, to simply allow the body to be still, to allow the mind to unfurl its grip from the ever-turning wheel of thoughts, to know the spaciousness of this moment of stillness. For some of you, this stillness might be delicious, food for your weary spirit. For others of you, this stillness might be discomforting, an emptiness close to sorrow. However you are experiencing stillness in this very moment, pleasant or unpleasant, welcome or irritating, that's okay. I would simply invite you to be curious about your response and to know that this moment of stillness is but a moment. As we move into the month of January, we explore the theme of finding our center. To find one's center, I believe it is necessary to slow down, to heed the ancient call to stillness. This call has been a part of many religious traditions for thousands of years, rooted in stories of sacred pause. In the ancient Jewish story of creation, God creates the heavens and the earth out of the void and darkness. Each day, God adds to creation, day and night, sky, waters and land, plant and trees, stars and the moon, birds and fish, animals with legs and animals that slither, and humankind. And on the seventh day, the story goes, God finished God's work and God rested. God blessed and hallowed the seventh day, resting from all the work that God had done in creation. The practice of the Sabbath in the Jewish tradition is a call to stillness and rest modeled after the creation story. It is a regular practice of disrupting normal routines to make room for returning to oneself and to one's relationship to the holy. In today's modern world of speed, it is a call to slow down, to unplug, to set aside work, and to rest. Buddhism, as a tradition, is founded upon a call to awaken, following a path of practice in which stillness opens one to fuller awareness. It began with Siddhartha Gautama leaving his life as a prince to better understand life's suffering. In his early years, he took up the life of an ascetic, renounced worldly comforts. He studied under different teachers and found the paths that he was exploring unsatisfactory. He then decided to sit under the Bodhi tree and to meditate. And it was here, in the stillness, that the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path came to him, which he then went on to share with others. Christianity also has a long tradition of contemplative practice with stillness at the center. Jesus himself was said to have sought out moments of stillness and rest during his years of teaching and ministry. He slept aboard a boat accompanied by his disciples while a storm raged, much to their dismay. He went to pray on a mountainside after feeding thousands. He sought refuge in a friend's home to have some time away from the crowds that were starting to gather wherever he went, sharing his teaching. And the Christian tradition includes a long lineage of monastics who live in communities intentionally designed to support the practice of stillness. And while the practice of stillness and slowing down, while these are supported by our religious traditions, they aren't practices that are just for the holiest among us. These are practices that we can and that we do embed in both our religious and our secular lives. And by stillness, I do mean quite literally the cessation of motion, but more so, stillness is an intentional pausing, a shedding of the activity and noise that so typically fills our days. We invite stillness into our lives each Sunday as we share in this time that is set apart from all other times of the week to engage in reflection, in song, in meditation, in conversation. You might invite stillness into your day when you sit with a cup of tea or coffee and just watch those birds at the feeder before starting your day. Perhaps your invitation for stillness into your day is when you set aside your phone and other devices in the hours before going to bed, allowing your mind and your body to settle into a natural rhythm of rest. Or maybe that's an aspiration, like it is for me. These winter months can be especially conducive to practices of stillness, slowing down enough to notice and appreciate the mundane comforts of life. The late poet David Budbill writes about this in his brief poem, The 6th of January. The cat sits on the back of the sofa, looking out the window through the softly falling snow at the last bit of gray light. I can't say the sun is going down. We haven't seen the sun for 2 months. Who cares? I am sitting in the blue chair listening to this stillness. The only sound, the occasional gurgle of tea coming out of the pot and into the cup. How can this be? Such calm, such peace, such solitude in this world of woe. I love this vignette of a simple moment of stillness, and also how Budbill notes the contrast between the calm and the peace of a moment like this with the world of woe that exists outside that moment and beyond his blue chair. Perhaps it is this contrast that can sometimes make slowing down difficult to do. We might think it is a privilege that we don't deserve when there is oh so much woe in the world. It might also be that when we are still, we encounter emotions and thoughts that make us uneasy, that aren't particularly pleasant, and so we keep ourselves in perpetual motion to avoid those difficult feelings. This was clear to me when I recently attended a 6-day silent meditation retreat. Throughout the course of a 45-minute period of sitting, I felt various unpleasant physical sensations, as well as thoughts that led to uncomfortable feelings. I remembered something I had not taken care of before leaving for retreat, and a feeling of panic coursed through my body for several moments. In another moment, my shoulders began to curve forward and ache. In another, I felt a cold draft that made me shiver, brought goosebumps to my arms. Being still is certainly not always pleasant. And what I've described are fairly minor feelings and sensations of uneasiness, to be sure, but the practice of staying with even these minor moments of uneasiness is one of the points of the practice of stillness. To know that suffering is a part of life and that we can endure discomfort and even pain. When we slow down, we notice discomfort, and we also give ourselves a chance to notice other things as well. The full breadth of sensations and emotions that make us human. Slowing down allows us to be alive and attuned in a different way than our normal pace typically permits. When we slow down, we can more fully relish a moment of delight. When we slow down, we are more likely to notice another person in need and to be willing to do something to help. Now, when slowing down isn't an intentional choice, but is forced upon us, it may not be apparent right away what spiritual fruits there are to savor. Some of you have been forced to slow down by age or personal crisis or health. We might feel especially resistant to stillness in these cases and not embrace it right away as a practice of possibility for aliveness. In these instances, we might ask ourselves, what might stillness offer you even though it wasn't of your own choosing? What needs to be let go of in order to accept this time of slowing down? We all had a collective experience of being forced to slow down early in the COVID pandemic. It was a collective pause, a notable cessation in the usual frenzied pace of day-to-day life and the machine-like pace driving forward a globalized economy. Air travel slowed down. Shipping of goods slowed down. Trucks and trains slowed down. The stilling of human activity felt like a relief to many. As short-lived as it may have been, it was a relief to set aside expectations to produce and to consume. And this is where I believe much of the power of the practice of stillness lies. Our stillness is not only a chance for personal reflection and self-care, it is also resistance to the unceasing pressures to produce and to consume in the marketplace of goods, services, and ideas that can leave us feeling wrung out and burned out, that is, separated from the deepest parts of ourselves. Today, there are renewed calls for rest, slowing down, and stillness as an antidote to what some call grind culture or hustle culture. Tricia Hersey is one of these people. She founded the NAP ministry in 2016 in response to her own exhaustion and burnout. She drew upon what her parents, her grandparents, her ancestors had taught her about rest as resistance. Her grandmother was part of the Great Migration, fleeing the Jim Crow laws of Mississippi in the 1950s and settling in the south side of Chicago. Hersey describes her grandmother's commitment to resting her eyes for 30 minutes a day, even while raising 8 children, as radical. And what she learned about rest from her ancestors inspired her creative ministry as what she's called the NAP Bishop, curating collective experiences of rest and speaking and writing about the vital importance of rest, especially for Black communities. In her recent book, she writes, "Rest is resistance is our tagline and mantra, our call. Rest is a form of resistance because it disrupts and pushes back against capitalism and white supremacy. Both these toxic systems refuse to see the inherent divinity in human beings and have used bodies as a tool for production, evil, and destruction for centuries. Grind culture has made us all human machines, willing and ready to donate our lives to a capitalist system that thrives by placing profits over people. The Rest is Resistance movement is a connection and a path back to our true nature. We are enough. We are divine. This same sentiment is present in Pablo Neruda's poem that we shared earlier. Neruda writes, "Tal vez no hacer nada una vez, tal vez un gran silencio pueda interrumpir esta tristeza, este no entendernos jamás y amenazarnos con la muerte. If we could do nothing for once, perhaps a great silence would interrupt this sadness, this never understanding ourselves and threatening ourselves with death. How little we understand when we are constantly in motion, propelled forward in systems of production and profit." Neruda imagines how our slowing down could provide an opening for healing and for deeper knowledge of ourselves. To know, as Hersey says, we are enough, we are divine. To come into this collective knowledge requires collective action, or inaction in this case. Slowing down and building in time for rest and Sabbath is not just an individual endeavor. It is something done in and with community. When there is a collective commitment to slow down, the burden to set aside work or to step out of normal routines isn't placed solely on the individual. It's not your fault that you're so exhausted. In community, it becomes more possible to tend to relationships with care when the commitment to slow down is shared. And that is part of what we do together as a spiritual community, and also what each of us can do in the communities of our families, our friends, our neighbors beyond these walls. We slow down so that we can remember who we are, and so that we can find our way back to the parts of ourselves that we lose hold of when speed and productivity are the driving forces. Instead, when we embrace stillness, we make time and space for reconnecting to ourselves and to one another. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let us seek out that stillness that brings us back to the essence of life so that we know we are enough, we are divine. So may it be. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in singing our closing hymn, number 352 in the gray hymnal, Find a Stillness. Eliza will play it all the way through once, and then I invite you to join in singing. As we close our service, we extinguish our chalice and carry with us its flame of truth, the warmth of community, and the spark of hope into the days and the week ahead. As we do so, let us say together our mission statement. We welcome all as we build a loving community to nurture each person's spiritual journey, serve human need, and protect the earth, our home. These closing words are by Scott Taylor. Having found stillness, may we share peace. Having received connection, may we reach out to others. Having heard the call of our deepest self, may we live in greater alignment. Having returned to our center, may we expand the circle of love. And we conclude our service with the postlude.